that must have felt good. That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
But I wish they wouldn't compare everything to Sex and the City. It's too obvious.
What is the screen sharing thing?
I don't know. I know what they're doing.
No, nothing. We just a banner, which was created especially for this particular talk. That's it. So we'll
Okay,
in
Pavan,
between while
let's start now.
You mean the
Yeah.
banner
Right.
behind you, Pawan?
yeah, absolutely.
Let's start.
Yeah. So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for taking our time on this lovely evening. It's a special day. It's Mother's Day, and of course we have all the leading actors for this very very popular show. Four More Shots, please. Season 2, just like one of the most popular ones right on Amazon Prime going on, and we'll for the next 40-45 minutes we'll have some lovely shares with these ladies on love, life, and friendship. And I'll now hand it over to the master of ceremonies, Kaveri Bamzai, who needs no introduction. Ma'am, over to you, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi. It's so wonderful to have with me Shayoni Gupta, Manvi Gagru, Kirti Kulhari. Am I pronouncing it right, Kirti?
You got the first name, you got the second name.
No. Okay. This
That's
is
fine.
really tough. Anyway, but first, congratulations for season 3, and I'm really excited for it because it's so rare to get a show that is fun as well as progressive. You know, the politics of the show is just so right, and I want to bring in Shani here because she plays by far the most political character in the series by way of the fact that she's a journalist and she's investigating something that seems so close to the Judge Lodha case. So, Shani, I wanted to ask you, what is it like when you find something so progressive? And, you know, it just it's directed by a woman, produced by a woman, written by a woman, seen through a woman's eyes, and then it has the 4 of you. What does it feel like?
You know, I always have said that cinema is an extremely powerful medium and tool, and any kind of art to actually say something that matters and completely,
Yes.
constantly represent the world and the times we live in. And if we are able to do that in the mildest way or the strongest way, I think, and start to discourse in a dialogue, I think we are doing something right. And I think the reason that all 4 of us felt so strongly and wanted to be part of a narrative like this, especially in the mainstream, is because you don't really see in the Indian context women who are represented in the right way, you know, authentically, and especially the urban women, because there are
Yes.
so many myths and stereotypes that you know, you only have the virginal or the vamp
Yeah.
and nothing in between. You know, most of the women you see in the mainstream are nothing like you and me and, you know, all of us. And if you are able to represent certain things that are happening in society right now, it's amazing. And I think as actors, there's nothing more powerful than doing that. And the fact that Damini is extremely political, and her politics is very close to mine actually, so it's
Yeah.
easier to believe in it more strongly, and play it more convincingly. And the fact that in spite of being a journalist, which has become such a mocking term today, especially in the country,
Unfortunately, yes.
unfortunately, and journalism, the idea of journalism has completely changed, and not towards the right reason. That, you know, if she's able to call a spade and be truthful and completely fearless in what she's trying to do, whether it's, you know, writing a book or do these investigations, I think it's a little bit of our tribute to what real journalism is and what journalists should be. So I think it's quite gratifying, honestly.
Great. Kirti, I wanted to ask you because you address some of the most important issues that women face at the workplace. You know, the fact that there is this insidious kind of misogyny, you know, which really sets your teeth on edge, and sometimes you feel so helpless about it. And you've portrayed that so beautifully in season 2. So, what was it like, you know, to portray that, to feel that anger and yet sometimes feel helpless?
I think again, misogyny is again one of the very important subjects that we are kind of
Yeah,
talking about in the show. So uh, if you are that person in the show who's kind of representing one of these important topics, I mean, it becomes even more important that you get it right,
yeah,
that you're able to show the emotions in the right way to so many people watching, because it's for them,
yes,
it's for them to relate to it. So personally, having said that, I think most of it, I would say most of it was just me acting and reacting as an actor. I mean, if you ask me, is this the kind of misogynistic behavior that I have faced in my workspace? Well, not really, because we are in a field where these kind of, this is not the environment, this is not the way it's kind of, even if there is misogyny in our workplace, this is not how it's put across,
right,
most of the times. So for me, it was just playing it as I was supposed to, and I mean, sometimes for us as actors, it's as simple as that. While we understand the burden and the responsibility of what is it that we are carrying on our shoulders, we just have to get it right, as I said, for the message to really reach who it's supposed to, and I think it's kind of done its job, because so many people, so many women especially, have gotten back to me and spoken about this thing, having facing this, also wanting solutions,
yeah,
not just telling me that this is what they are experiencing, but also asking me what should they do, how should they react to it, and all of that.
that's
So
tough.
yeah, I guess so it's reached its audience, and I think just makes me feel good as an actor.
Yeah. Manvi, I have to come to you and ask you about playing this princess of privilege. At one level, it's so much fun, but you have all the unresolved issues that all of us have. Whether it's our bodies, whether it's our sex lives, whether it's what we want to do. You actually have the most problems among all the others. Because your life is the least finished of, in a way, of all of them. So what was it like playing this Sobo girl when you're actually from, I guess, so Delhi, right? South
So,
Delhi.
or whatever,
So
yeah.
Delhi.
No, so I personally don't think there's much of a difference between a South Delhi and a South Bombay girl.
Yeah,
When
I
we,
agree.
yeah, well, because I mean, of course, there are linguistic differences. There are certain like smaller things that are different, but otherwise, more or less, because when we say, oh, she's a South Bombay girl or a South
Yeah,
Delhi girl, what we mean is that she comes from privilege,
yes,
comes from a place of privilege. And I think privilege is not specific to any one city. No, and the thing is that, like you said, that she's the most unfinished. So,
yeah,
in the sense that she, I mean, even the other characters have issues, have problems, but
yeah,
theirs are mostly external,
yeah,
or created because of their reaction to those external things.
right,
As opposed to in Siddhi's case, her issue is also the root is external, that because of her mother or society or whatever, but because it began at a very young age in her formative years, so it's also it's become internal to her now. It's
yeah,
also become part of her personality. So yeah, so it was. I remember because initially when we began season 1, Siddhi's main two conflicts were her relationship with her body and her mother.
yeah.
And
Sneha.
yeah, and personally, I couldn't relate to either of the two. So I was a little like, I was a little worried about how I'm going to portray that or whatever.
Right.
But two things. One, I realized that it's all the more reason for me to take it up as an actor. Because it is something that I don't relate
Yeah.
to. So it will be interesting to channel that aspect. And the other one was the fact that ultimately, like overtly, all our problems may look different, but at the core of it, they're more or less the same. Like if you strip them down to the basics, then the emotions are the same. There's a sense of insecurity or a sense of loss or a sense of a fear of failure, and
Yeah.
they're all common. These are the common universal threads. So yeah, I did manage to find something to resonate with, because I think we've all had, like, we as people, we all go through bouts of insecurity and feeling lost and not being in charge of your life, and things that I kind of
now of course it's a success and all of you look lovely, and there's a lot of praise, but when you guys got the roles in, I guess, 2018, did you for a moment think, do you want to do this, do you want to go there?
Go for it.
Bani is also here, by the way, huh?
Oh, Bani, how are you? Where are you? Can we see you?
Yeah, I did.
Hello.
Yeah.
Bani, Gurbani Judge, how are you? Nice to see you. Okay, we've just had a round of discussion with all of them, and I've asked them what it was like to find this character who was so progressive and yet so much fun, because it isn't always possible to get that. If you play a progressive character, it may not always, be in such a fun situation. So what was it like for you when you got the part, Bunny?
I actually, I think the part found me at a
Can you speak up, Bunny? We can't hear you very well.
Can you hear me now?
Louder.
Louder.
But you're a little faint.
I'll be like yelling if I speak louder than this time.
Louder.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I have to yell that way.
Yeah. I think there must be a problem with the laptop volume. Just check that.
My laptop is full. It's full.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I think the part found me at the right time. I think I was ready to play a character that was taking on some serious social constructs in India that needed to be addressed, that were not being addressed at all. And I just felt extremely ready. Like when they showed me the PPT, I was the first one to be approached to be cast for the show.
Okay.
And I really, really liked the pitch. And it didn't faze me at all that they wanted me to play like a bisexual character, or that she was a personal trainer who comes from a small town, comes to Bombay and all of that.
Right.
In fact, I was just like, all right, cool. It's about time that a role like this actually was written and actually came to life. So yeah, let's do it. That was like my approach to it.
Nobody told you, Bani, that, oh, this will be career suicide. You'll never play a part in Bollywood ever again.
Who is going to say these things to me? Like, who on earth is going to say that? Like, I went for the meeting, I told my management, I'm going, and this is what it was, and I want to do it, and I'm going to do it. And they were like, okay.
Do it.
I don't think I've had anybody in my life ever tell me, you can't do this because of this. Or maybe I've had people telling me all my life, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do that. That I've just been like, you guys can just keep talking, and I'm not going to, like,
Muted.
white noise to me. It's like static. It's always there. And then I just kind of, and it's great because people are forever throwing their opinions at you all the time, since, especially for women, since we're so young in a country like India.
Yeah.
It's so, like, it's everywhere and all the time and constant, that I'm very happy that I've, like, really, it's made me tune all of that out and become very self-attuned to what I actually want to do, rather than where everybody else gets very confused, like, oh, but they said this and she said this and he said this. Oh my God. For me, it's more like, okay, so all of you who are speaking, I will not listen to, and I will go inside my mind and heart and listen to what I want to do, and I will do that. I mean, I don't know how it happened, but that's what's happened to me, and it's always been this way. So I'm not complaining. It's working out fine.
Yeah, and I must tell you, Bani, that I spoke to Lisa Ray as well, and she said that she wouldn't have been able to do this role if you had not been her partner. So I think that's high praise.
I think, I mean, once I found out that she was going to be cast as my love interest, I was like, okay. And then at that point in time, she must have told you that she went back and forth between saying and not saying yes, because and all that. And every time they told me, listen, yes, listen, no, I was like, if Lisa is not there, I am not doing this show. I don't care what you will do to me, sue me, whatever it is, do it. But I won't be a part of the show if Lisa's not there.
Right.
I don't very clearly, because once they told me that it was going to be her, I couldn't see anybody else in that.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful that she did it.
Yeah, we all are. The same question goes to all of you because, back in 2018, it must have been a little daunting to take up something like this.
Not at all, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. For me, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but not at all. And as Bani said, I mean, there are enough number of people telling you what to do. But I think right from childhood, I've always done what I pleased and I never listened to anyone. And the fact that I'm sitting here talking to you is only and solely because of that reason, from being an actor to every choice that I've made for myself. And what is really fabulous about the show is that it celebrates these women making, who are flawed and normal,
Yeah.
and they're constantly, they're not perfect, the decisions are not perfect, the choices they're making is by their own will and agency and choice, and they're owning up to the mistakes as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's something about the show, and which I thought amazing. And I really really wanted to be part of the show, and I had to like change around a lot of things, say no to a bunch of projects to be able to, because I was the last one actually to come in. I was the last one to be cast.
Oh.
And I really knew that this was a bunch of women who were trying to push the envelope in a certain way, and I had to be part of it, and all the choices and through my career and through all the projects that I've done have been extremely instinctive, and I've always sort of ended up doing stuff that felt right to do it at that point. And be it again starting from Margarita, where like you're asking Bani, like there were too many people telling me not to do it and how it will be a career suicide. But it doesn't matter, because when you know what to listen, how to listen to yourself and listening to your gut and your inner voice, I think none of the other white noise, as Bani was saying, matters.
Katie, what about you?
Well, I think as far as the the concept of the show was concerned, in terms of what it was trying to say through the show, I think I was I was very for it. I really felt it was high time that we spoke about things that we are speaking about in the show, and so I was very kicked about that. I mean, I knew that it's not something done before, and I knew that the way people were associated with this project, from the producers to the directors coming on board to the to the editor to the idea that it was almost a 70 to 80% female crew wanting to do this together. I think for me, and of course the show being about 4 women, I think that in itself I thought was very it was like a rebellion. It was like there was something there which could change things, which could change the way people look at women, or the way women look at women, and the way we look at ourselves. And but I just had 2 apprehensions as far as the show was concerned. One was I was asked to play a mother, which I wasn't very sure of, considering we are an industry where we just want to typecast, put people into boxes, and just like see them for that one role that they do. And apart from that, I knew that there were a lot of intimate scenes in the show, which actually as an actor I was absolutely geared for, like very very ready for. I just felt it was a step that I was so ready for as an actor, to really grow up, and to just let go of all the remaining inhibitions I have. But what I wasn't sure of was having seen so much Hollywood films and foreign films, and having seen intimate scenes there, sex scenes being executed the way they are, I was like, is this going to look cheap and frivolous, or are we going to do a good job of it, just showing these sex scenes the way they are supposed to be shown? So I think these two apprehensions I had, and when they were put to rest, I was anyway ready for it.
I can't decide who is the better luck, Shayoni or Bani, I mean, Shayoni, you have like 2 gorgeous men I mean, two men who everybody, I think, dreams of chasing you, and you're having sex with them at least on screen. And Barney gets to kiss Lisa Ray. My God. So, like, this is your fantasy, or every woman's fantasy.
Well, I know for a fact Barney had a massive crush on Lisa, and I think we all had. She's such a gorgeous woman and also a superb human being. She's
Yeah.
such a powerhouse. And I know, we would all be like, and this thing that Barney was talking about, when Lisa was like, apprehensive whether to do it or not. And we were all seeing and observing Barney closely, and it was so cute. It was really so endearing to sort of see her like that. But I'll tell you, there's a difference between men and women, okay?
Huh.
If you idolize women and you met them, it's not so much of a heartbreak most times. But if you idolized a man, most of the times, or not idolize, like if you had a crush on, or you like somebody so much, it's always a letdown. In most cases.
So sad.
and I remember telling Milind, because obviously growing up, we all had
Who
crushes on
doesn't?
him.
Yeah.
No, there are. Manvi didn't love him a lot, I know.
Oh, really?
Growing up. Yeah.
But Man-
No, yeah,
Manvi was okay.
I mean, he wasn't like my sister, for example, was a huge fan, and she used to really follow his work, his modeling work, his pictures, and had posters and stuff. I think by the time I reached that age of being able to crush on people, I think by then they were the Dino Morias had come in, and
not so exciting.
No, so I have had a massive crush on him growing up, and he's Milan Soman, like the best looking man in the country. But actually, my joke with him is like, I wish I had met you. But he's lovely. He's a goofball, and I've grown to get fond of him, and we have a great bantery kind of relationship. But I was scolding him through my scenes because he wouldn't read the scenes, he wouldn't know his lines. He would be like, huh. So I would have to read the lines and make him memorize it, and he's very, very professional once he's on set. But so yeah, now it's very different. I look at him very differently. He's no more the Milan Soman. He's like, "Arey chal liya bite now," like that kind of a relationship. So yeah, I guess. But I know a lot of women are quite jealous, and they constantly keep writing to me saying, "How come you get to kiss all the hot men?"
Yeah, it's your job.
Yeah, well, it's my job.
Are these animated characters who are messaging?
But Manvi, I love the fact that you have a partner who is constantly disappointing you, and your expression is just classic. I mean, what was that like?
No, actually, so he's Prabal.
He's very funny.
And he's a friend of mine. So
Okay.
both of us were very he was a lot more awkward. I, having had done season 1, I was thankfully in a more comfortable spot with respect to the intimate scenes with him, and so I was holding his hand through those scenes, and I remember he was like, and so I remember the first take we did, I made a very disgusted face, I was just like, something, and he looked at me saying, "Can you please not make that face?" That's bad. I said, yeah. And then we were discussing it that she's like her core emotion is boredom.
Yeah.
And rather than, because it's doing nothing for her. It's not disgusting, but it's just boring. It's neutral. She's like, I might as well be at home watching TV right now, So it's, so then I kind of toned it down a bit because I was going all out, and then I toned it down and I was like, okay, cool. So it was, I personally think that these scenes are or the intimate scenes are always a little awkward to shoot. Especially if it's the first time you're doing it with that particular actor. But once you overcome that awkwardness, it's like any other scene where you discuss the beats of the scene, you discuss the emotions, the expressions and everything, and we had to shoot them all in one day because and they all have the same graph, right?
Right.
Gobble, neck, whatever. So we had to do them all in the same day, which was actually good because we got it over with once and for all in one day itself. And
but Madhvi, for me, the discovery was really your comic timing. You are so funny. I hope you're going to do that as a living soon.
Quitting acting and becoming a stand-up comic.
But I have been getting a lot of inquiries for live shows.
Obviously, yeah, you're very funny.
Yeah, and it's damn funny because I'm like, "Arey nahi yaar, I'm an actor. I'm not a stand-up. I can't do stand-up comedy."
Yeah.
Or else give me, or I'll do it like an actor. You give me material, I'll memorize it. Tell me what character you want me to play, or I'll conjure up my own character and then play that. But actually, Kavi, the funny thing is, I do not like doing comedy
Okay.
as an actor.
But you're damn good at it, of course.
Yeah. So no, the thing is, like I keep telling the girls also this, that I'm like in real life, I'm very happy with my sense of humor. I think I'm funny. But the minute I'm expected to be funny, I feel that pressure and I just stiffen up. And especially more so as an actor, because I know, because there's someone else's lines and they're funny on paper, you know, so I read them and I laugh myself, and then I have this terrible fear, crippling fear that I'm going to mess it up and it'll fall. A good joke, a joke that is already good on paper, I'm going to screw it up by delivering it wrong. And because it's hard to do, right? Like because timing is something you can't, it's not tangible. Like, you know, you don't know what time, how do I describe timing?
Right.
You know, how do you define time? Timing is timing, you know, like you just know when it comes or whatever. I don't know what the trick is. So it's very instinctive, I guess. Yeah, but personally, I'm not as an actor, I don't enjoy doing comedy. I get stiff.
Barney, you know, in your case, you're supposed to be this very athletic and, you know, very very physical trainer. Have you had people who've asked you to please start training them, or have you had people asking you to do that?
I've had people ask me to train them since like maybe 6 or 7 years.
Uh-huh.
People have been asking me on Instagram. I get requests all the time,
Right.
but they all know I don't actually train people, so that's cool.
But
I just train myself.
Rangita told me that you've got a lot of people who've actually, young women especially, who've come to you and said that you really changed their lives in many ways because you've allowed them to express their sexuality. Is that so?
Yeah, it's really cool actually, because when the show aired on the first season itself, I got a lot of people DMing me, coming out to me in my DMs actually. So
Yeah.
it was like rainbows and sunshine in my DMs every time I would open my Instagram inbox, which was pretty
Right.
awesome. And there were a lot of people, a lot of women, they were actually, majority was women more than men, who were coming out in my DMs and, you know, saying that seeing all these scenes really resonated with them, that the LGBTQI community, obviously specifically, is extremely happy with the fact that there is a character like this that is not, you know, being made fun of or being seen in a caricaturish manner, and that, you know, is being seen as an actual viable human being with actual feelings and a real relationship. So all of that, I think it was really important to be able to do it in a very sincere and realistic manner, because these are real issues. These are real people that are living next to us. And it's about time that we recognize them and actually give them this kind of a platform, because if not now, then when, basically. So,
And especially, I think the speech, not to, of course, spoil it for everyone, but I think the speech at the wedding, that really sums up the entire philosophy of the series, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's one of those very hard truths to kind of come to terms with. Like, even for me personally, it was something that really, like, it was like I was in a bubble, and then I realized, I don't know, I think I was pretty young when I realized this about how, I mean, you hear it in movies all the time and you read in books that, you know, sometimes love just isn't enough, but you don't realize it until you are in the situation and your head is hitting the wall again and again and again, metaphorically.
Yeah.
That you're just like, wow, this is, or maybe realistically for some people, I don't know. That is just like, you know, you need to pick yourself up and get out of the situation. And there's only so many times you can go round and round in the same circus and expect a different result. So, and that's just something that I think is very personal and is, takes different amount of time for a lot of people. Some people just call it when they see it, and some people, it just takes them a long time to kind of realize, oh my goodness, am I in this situation still? Why am I still in this situation? It's not going to change, because obviously you're hopeful and all of that. So it's pretty complex, but yeah, it's a hard lesson to learn, and then once you accept it, to actually do something about it is like the other part of the whole problem. So yeah, man, it was hard. It was like exhausting to play it, and it was. I've seen a lot of people have resonated a lot with it, so that's pretty cool and sad at the same time, because it's a harsh lesson to learn in life.
Right. What
We've lost her.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oops.
Vani,
Now what to do?
your
Vani, why
answer.
don't you moderate?
Hi guys, welcome
She's
to
back.
this is Vani Vani.
This is Maveri.
Guys,
Maveri.
live is still on, huh? Live abhi bhi chal raha hai.
I
So
know.
just
but
Let's answer the
you can
question.
entertain the
Like,
rest, na?
the questions
where are the
You
where
guys,
are the questions?
you guys
Okay,
are
I'll
saying
ask
something.
question.
Hang on, she's back. Can't you see her? She's back. Hang on.
back?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
she's
oh
right.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. No, so what I was asking you, Kirti, is that you have these seemingly perfect men, and and it's still not enough. Like, what? I mean, what do
It
you
is.
want to even have Garibo ka Bachchan, which I have heard that disrespect
Oh,
love.
It is just not satisfied.
Well, it wasn't really my man to begin with, Kaveri. I mean, if you really look at the series. Well, yes, I think if there is anybody in the series who's portrayed as being the man, that any woman would want, I think it's Arjun. So yes, and I of course broke his heart.
Yeah.
But but apart,
Everything
sorry.
perfectly. He did everything perfectly.
yeah.
Sometimes you don't want perfection. A little imperfection is all that
Perfection
we're
is
looking
boring,
for.
guys. Perfection
Perfect.
is boring.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's very boring.
True.
So no, I think if you we're all very complex people here. I wish life was as simple as we all want it to be, and we could see things for what they really are, and all of that. But it's not so. We are so often dealing with so much inside of us that it takes, as Bani said, it takes a while for you to really realize what is it that you want, and what is it that more than wanting. There's always like a conflict between wanting and needing. What you need is what you want is not something you need. You need some very basic things in life, but we're always like wanting this and that, and it keeps changing depending on where you are in life. So in Anjana's case, I mean, while Arjun seems like the perfect man from everybody else's point of view, she knows that maybe a marriage or settling down is not something that she is looking for, which Arjun seems to be really looking forward to at this point. And she doesn't want to be the one, where Arjun maybe say few years later wakes up to her and goes like, you ruined my life,
Right.
So these are very harsh decisions. These decisions of the heart are not always black and white. There is so much going on behind those decisions, and well, some work out for you, some don't. This might just be Anjana's biggest mistake, but that's the part of that's what life is about, right? It's about being able to walk your path based on your understanding and your intelligence and your wisdom, and make mistakes in the process and grow up, eventually learn and just grow and keep moving. So, and that's what is being shown in the show. So it's life right there.
Yeah, and I think Shayani has the same problem. She has too much of a good thing.
I sometimes don't understand only. I keep asking the writers, like, can't one girl be happy with one relationship in their life? Like, chhod do na, ek ko normal rehne do na.
Right.
Like, even
Ani
Jay,
was. Umang's relationship was very consistent.
Yeah.
very consistent, but again, she started. I mean, what Damini says that sometimes the giver gives too much, that वो अंदर से खोखला हो जाता है, खाली हो जाता है. So there has to be this constant balance, right? And I think, I mean, I love Jay's character, and there's so many women writing to me saying, why? Like, why are you doing this to him?
Team
Why
J,
is so
Team J,
Team J? And all
Team
Team
J
J,
for
I
life.
think
Barney,
all the
Barney is
girls.
definitely Team J. And I love that fight that they have at the end between uncle and boy.
Yeah.
It's just classic.
And I'm like, what does Damini give them that both these amazing men are just head over heels, like willing to fight, like fist fight each other? But I mean, she must be like amazing. I don't know. I really don't know.
You
But
are, you are.
yeah, so it's quite funny. But trust me, I sometimes feel, and the girls know that I've been telling the writers and the creators that please just let Damini and Jay be. Just give them a little bit, a few months of just happy, blissful romance. That nothing gets complicated. Damini is not up to something, but sometimes I feel the writers and the creators are also vicariously living through our characters. They're like, enough of this. Just like, let's just now do this. Like Kirti, I think Anjana could have been with Arjun and should have
Yeah.
been with Arjun. And even I felt like, why is she doing
I
this
didn't
to him?
mind Mr.
Then
Bose.
they're like,
also.
chalo, bahut ho gaya.
Even Mr. Bose was not bad. You know that he's a slime, but he's a nice
Yeah.
slime.
I mean, yeah, apart from that, but he wasn't, there's complication in
Yeah.
that, right? With Arjun, there
You
was
know,
no complication.
so many people on social media are going like, women are going like, I know you and Bose, it's not really right, but is it really wrong to?
So Garima Bachchan isn't so bad, huh?
Dude, I can't tell you how many people have messaged me saying, oh my god, we were laughing our heads off, while we heard Garibo Ka Bachchan.
Obviously.
But and Sameer Kochar, he messaged me saying, bro, who came up with this? I said, bro, I'm really sorry. I didn't realize you're going to watch this. because the original line was Garibo Ka George Clooney. I was like, but George Clooney.
So it was cute.
I had to
Oh,
come up with.
poor guy. He's never going to live this down, huh? Okay, so we have some questions. First, of course, lots of fan mail for Bani from lots of people. One of them, Ashnen Kaur. I just want Bani to know she's my biggest inspiration. I've actually started looking at my life so positively just because of her. Bani fam for life, Bani fam UK. I think that must be feeling nice, Bani.
They're going to make me cry today. I feel like they just want to make me cry. They know I'm having a difficult day, but yeah, Barney fan for life.
So you've had, I think that whole, the idea of equality, when you say that at the end, I think that really resonated so much with everyone.
Yeah.
It was just so beautiful.
Yeah, and I think it hits on many levels, and I think again it's like one of those things that's a hard lesson to learn about love not being enough, and then you can't just, it's one of the hardest things to attain. Even in friendships, it's super hard to maintain a level of equality in your life, in the workplace, especially in your love life. Like, how is that going to happen? It's so difficult. You have to have a really open channel of communication and have absolutely no ego.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that's just going to be like a struggle that's there forever. There's a search for it that's going to continue for a very long time. So I think that's why a lot of people obviously understood, or maybe I think what it was is just that once the words were said, they were like, oh, the articulation of it is what made a lot of sense to a lot of people. They were like, acha, yeah, that's right. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah. So sometimes you don't know what it is, and then somebody just says it, and you're like, oh my goodness, that's exactly right. That's what it is. So yeah.
Shreya Kuruvilla says, hello, gorgeous women. I appreciate how this show has embraced patriarchy as a social construct and how women are equally responsible in perpetuating it. This was shown in instances such as Shayoni's character being denied publication even by women, or Gurbani's character runs away from her marriage because she felt domesticated. So if there is a season 3, will these questions be answered, or will this show embrace this concept in a deeper way?
I just want to clarify that in Damini's case, that's not, I don't think it's right to call it an example of patriarchy.
Yeah.
it was more against the contents of a book and the fear that that the backlash that the book might receive. So I don't think it's correct to say that women didn't support her. Because
that is how a lot of people saw it.
No, actually, I think she's talking about the first season, Manvi, because this is a conflict that Damini and Uma Parekh, and that is why I felt that Damini says that being a woman, you should always support me, and Uma says no, I should support your merit. And actually, that's why I feel Sayoni's concept of feminism is different than Damini's concept of feminism.
And I love that scene, because I love the fact that both the sides of the argument have been kept.
Yes.
Yeah, because I am actually like a Sayoni. I think what Uma is saying makes more sense. That if you have the merit and if you're talented, then I will stand by you, but not because you're just because you're a woman.
You're a girl, yeah.
So I think she's talking about that. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, season 3, we'll see. There is more drama.
There is always drama.
Have you been given scripts for season 3?
Any what?
Have you been given the scripts for season 3?
Yeah, we were actually going to. Yeah. We were 1 week out from shoot before the lockdown started. We were 1 week out from shoot.
We are also auctioning it. If you want to know what happens, you can. We'll send you our Google.
I think that's a private auction going on. I am not partaking in any auctions of any sort. I just want to be said.
Come on, Bani, be with the team.
Stuti Bajaj says, I'm guessing there's still a section of society that still can't digest such progressive content. Have you been a part of situations where you've been dealt with hate because of the content of the show? How did you deal with this?
Every day.
Every day.
Our DMs and not DMs so much, but
Twitter.
The comment section is like on Insta and Twitter are filled with people just talking not just shit about the show, but also getting personal. And I think that's where the lines need to be drawn. While we appreciate feedback, given properly, we surely do not. I don't think anybody appreciates anybody getting personal, because there is nothing personal here. We are actors doing our job. And you as an individual have the freedom to either see it or not see it.
Exactly.
And if you don't like it, of course, we are very open to criticism, because that's how we are also growing. I mean, we have learned from whatever didn't work for us and otherwise in season 1, and we have come to season 2, and that's the journey that we are taking. But I think this whole idea of people getting personal on this social media is just so like, I mean, it is beyond disgusting, but it's also like, now it's like, I think we have seen so much of it. Now it's like,
duck's back.
Yeah, it's like, okay, whatever, move on. So we just learned to deal with it. And honestly, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So this is just, we are going to do what we are going to do, and we are a part of this show. We are going to stand by it. We believe in what we are trying to do here. We genuinely do. And there are lakhs of people, lakhs of women who are getting inspired by this. And they are the ones we are working for. So I would say, just move out of the way, make way for us, and let us do what we need to do,
Yesterday, Kaveri, I found a message that I think was sent to all 4 of us from a girl, and she had a little write-up, and it makes so much sense. Yeah, and she actually said, I remember, I can't quote her exactly, but this is what she said, that the reason everyone is talking about, are Indian women like this? Do Indian women do this? Is this moral, or the morality of the Hindu society and things like that? People are talking about religion. Yeah. And what she said was, the moment you are trying to say anything about women, everyone has their personal moralities to bring. But these are the same people who are totally okay with a Kabir Singh and a Mirzapur, where all the men are doing, they are violent. They are violent towards women. There is abuse. uh, everything. And obviously, I mean, smoking, drinking doesn't even come in the morality, you know.
Moral
The
compass of,
moment,
yeah.
moral compass of society then, or forget about religion, you know. But the moment it's about women, everyone has something or the other to say. But, you know, I mean, amongst us, we have, you know, these groups, and we have, you know, there are times when we're discussing, because the comments are actually reflective of the times and the society we live in. And the fact that it's making so many people uncomfortable
Is good.
is good. And that's how you're pushing the envelope. And that's actually reflective of that there is more reason to do a FOMO shot than anything else, you know, because if we don't do it, who else will do it? And since we have done it, there are more people who can do it. You know, Kaveri, I'm sorry I'm taking time, but last night I got a message, and there's so many of these very emotional letters that we get, right? One girl called Priyanka from Calcutta, she messaged saying, I'm so glad that Damini got pregnant outside of any marriage, and she wanted to keep the child, because my sister, this is 5 years ago, she got pregnant, the man did not want the child, she fought with the family, the neighbors made her life hell, people around, relatives made her life hell, she had to move to Chennai, then now she lives in New York with the baby who's 4 years old. The man has still not accepted her, but this is from me and my sister, thank you for doing this. And I wrote her a letter back saying, you know what, there are women like your sister in the world who are trying to fight this battle in their own lives, and the least we can do is make that part of our narratives, you know, in our films and shows. So yeah.
That's really well said. Manvi, you've had a lot to say about the boys' locker room, and I'm glad you've really spoken up against it. Talk a little about that kind of mentality. It's an extension of what Shayoni is saying, right?
No, so yeah, so obviously it's disturbing, and it's disturbing at various levels, because one, the fact that these are young boys, they are 17, 18-year-old boys, very aware of the fact that the women they are talking about are 14, 15-year-old girls. It's not unknown to them. They know that they're talking about their age also in the chats. And in addition to that, the most disturbing thing, in my opinion, is that, so when a guy likes a girl, and or anybody, when you like somebody, your first line of approach is you go and tell that person. They say yes, great. If they say no, a decent person would back off. Maybe you'll try one more time, and you know, again, if you're if someone says no to you, then you back the hell off. So now my question is, or you know, someone who's really persistent will try another way or whatever, I don't know. But you from there, you've gone straight to rape. You've gone straight to gang rape. There, you've missed all the steps in between. That is what is troubling. That the fact that they think that yes, gang rape is the next option, and then they are even if they were talking about it lightly, the fact that they think that gang rape is something that you joke about or you discuss on a group, you make plans. They were making, like, you know, I don't know whether they intended to actually act upon those, but the screenshots that I saw, they were discussing कि अरे तू ऐसे करना, ये करना, मैं आऊँगा, pick करूँगा, you know, things like that. So so that is for me very disturbing, and you know, and the shocking, actually not so shocking part is that people haven't the response to the boys' locker room is to show another screenshot of girls' locker room. How is that? How are you comparing the two? Firstly, how can one crime be the response to another crime? Okay, number one, how can you justify one crime by saying हमारे साथ भी होता है, इनके साथ भी होता है, not all men and all of that? Number one. Number two, if you compare the chats, there's a huge difference in the two chats. Yes, even that is wrong, but you have to, punishment has to be in proportion to the crime. So you know, you have to treat them differently. Your response has to be different, and no, and then people are like, you know, so what? Girls also do this. Girls also do that. And I just don't understand that mentality. That how are you defending rape and gang rape and discussions about gang rape? I mean, I want to hold a mirror to that part of society and say, you are right now defending whatever you say, whether your argument is valid or not, but you're defending people discussing gang rape. Now let that sink
about
in.
minors.
We have a question from Genus Banu. First of all you girls were bold and beautiful in the show. You stood by each other through thick and thin, irrespective of right and wrong. In the real world, it is said no two females can be best friends, and you are four. Do you really believe that girls can be best friends? Girls can be best friends.
Of course.
Yeah, you are. You are. Are you
It's
friends?
also 2020.
But not just us, Kaveri. I mean, there are so many people, so many actually gangs of 4 girls. They send their pictures to us on the social media. They just click, the gangs together and they post it, hashtagging FOMO shots, please. So it's not just 2 girls, but actually gangs of literally 4 girls who are, there are so many girls who are close and who literally share the kind of bond that we are showing in the show. So it's so stupid of people to think कि अरे ऐसा थोड़ी ना होता है, ये तो fiction है, ऐसा तो सिर्फ फिल्मों में होता है. It's like, why don't you guys realize that we take from life? It's not a fictional show in the sense that we are imagining things and we are fictionalizing things. It's based on real people. It's stories, which are taken from real people. So everything that we are showing in the show, I mean, honestly, I always say this: reality is actually stranger than fiction. So what we are showing is a very small percentage of what actually happens out there. And that's exactly the reason millions are able to connect to the show. It is not a coincidence that people are taking to the show, that people are finding something in the show that they connect with. Because there is so much reality in the show above everything else that others see. There is so much going on in the show. So yeah, I mean, girls can be friends. Yeah, they are friends all over the world, and really
they can be friends and they can also be
myths.
lovers, and it's also all of it is okay.
It's okay.
Friends, be lovers, be whatever you want to be. It's all okay.
Yeah.
These are myths to perpetuate patriarchy, nothing else.
Yeah. And these are created only for that very reason.
We have
also,
a question.
We have to understand the anatomy of it. So, like when women started going to work in a workplace, there was one woman for every, I think, for 20 guys, or the ratio was such. So women were pitted against other women, and women were they were taught to be competitive with other women.
Correct.
Almost, so they started, obviously then women also started feeling that, they started feeling like there was a sense of competition or whatever. But obviously now that a lot of women are working and they form a huge part of the workforce across the world, so obviously that has changed, and women have also thankfully now realize and are vocalizing their thoughts and they're expressing themselves. So obviously I think this is something which is it belongs to a different era. I think this
also, I have to add here, I was talking to my sister who's a scientist. She saw the show and we were having a really long discussion about the show, and she said that there is such a dearth of professional women in cinema.
Of course.
Not only in India, but women are running the world.
Yeah.
I mean, Indra Nui is just one name that we know, but there are too many Indra Nuis that we don't know about and we don't talk about, and it's part of the design. And there is a need to put an end to that, talking about women in their professional lives. Women are not just there for romancing or marrying. They have a career, and that is something that we completely should celebrate.
We have one last question. We have lots of questions, but we can't take them all. Ma'am, please ask them to confirm whether Lisa will become part of season 3 or not.
What do you think? What do you think? After seeing season 2, what do you think is Lisa's fate in season 3?
I think Vani and Lisa won't give up so easily on each other.
Oh.
So anyway, let's see where life takes them. My last question to all of you is, what do you guys drink in those shots?
You want to know?
Pani.
Water.
This is what we drink.
Water.
Pani. That's why they're
hold up your poison.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
It's wonderful, and I really enjoy this uh, both the seasons. I watched them all at one go. That was very bad of me, but I really
Oh,
enjoyed
No,
it.
that's the way.
And,
yeah.
and all the very best, because I think all of you are doing such interesting, diverse work. Kirti, I've seen you in Uri. Manvi, I've seen you as Goggle in Shubh Mangal, Zada Savdan. Shayani, I saw something recently, the Good Karma Hotel.
Oh, you saw it. Hospital.
You're there
Yeah.
as well. My God, you're everywhere.
Thank you.
So it's really good to see all of you. And Bani, of course, you're just magnificent. So thank you all very much. I had a wonderful talk, and I learned a lot as always. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks.
so much,
you.
guys.
Kaveri.
Thank you,
Thanks
Kaveri.
everyone for
Thank you,
joining.
everyone. Thanks a lot.
Bye. Happy
Thank you so much,
Mother's Day.
guys.
Stay
You
happy.
have a lot of people in your team, Kaveri. We have never seen
Yes.
so many people joining
No,
a Zoom
those
meeting.
are the
No,
Those are the
these
people
are
who
audience.
This is
No.
the audience.
Yeah,
Got
yeah.
it.
We were
This is
live.
the audience.
This was the audience.
KFK!
KFK. That's KFK for everybody.
Okay, guys.
All
See
right.
you.
Lots of love. Bye, guys.
Thanks so much.
For season
Bye.
three.
Bye.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.